ladies and gentlemen, this is Sir Cypher here with some more Wargame Airland battle. And I thought I'd do a video as me playing Russians in this game I just played from a cinematic view. Because, yeah, most of my games are from NATO and people seem to like that. But let me know in the comments whether or not which one you like more. This right here is a Su-27 Flanker S, I think. Basically the best Russian air superiority fighter. Certainly its best dogfighter. And patrolling over our lines, making sure nobody sneaks up on it. Down here in the forest we have an armored convoy, or a not so armored convoy really, heading out to secure this town. This is a mortar carrier here, setting up here to provide fire support to this town. Over here we have a Russian paratrooper force in transport helicopters. We also have some paratroopers being dropped off in Hind attack helicopters. Again, one advantage Russia has is you can drop off your paratroopers in attack helicopters, who can then go around and shoot guys. Over here we have a giant helicopter force from NATO. We have Blackhawks, we have Chinooks, and they're taking fire from enemy man-pad missiles in the town across the river, but man-portable missiles don't have a lot of oomph to them. Over here they're firing their own missiles to take out this enemy these Russian attack helicopter that's harassing them from this lake. Again, man-portable anti-air missiles just don't have a lot of oomph to them. So for tough armored helicopters like a Hind, you need a bunch. And even the 4 missiles that this thing took to the face weren't enough to take it out. Over here we have a little bit of a duel between some Russian transport helicopters and a Black Hawk. No, I think it's a Huey. These are Mi-8s. I'm not sure what their reporting name is. I think they're Hinds as well, but they're kind of like the poor man's attack helicopter. They have lots of rockets, they have really bad anti-tank guided missiles, and they have a little wimpy gun there. So here we have these mortars firing rounds downrange on this town to clear out the enemy infantry that are almost certainly inside of it. See here, there's enemy infantry hiding in this forest. There's probably some hiding in this forest as well, but they'll be up. Here we go. There's some enemy infantry hiding in this forest as well. I think those are Marines. One of the only problems... Bridge too far. One of the only problems with watching with cinematic view is you have no idea where infantry and buildings are. I guess sort of like a real war, but over here we have a fight over this hilltop. The Pact has claimed the high ground and is punishing these NATO troops that are trying to advance up it. But it looks like they're retreated and they're giving it. Nope, no, they're not. Here we have, I believe these are Swedish tanks. Attempting to cut across here. Here we have American Marines in their landing craft vehicles. These are amphibious, these are like Amtrak's amphibious APCs, and I think these ones are armed with the Mark 19 grenade launcher, which is a 40mm automatic grenade launcher. For some... Come on, Marines, learn how to drive. For some reason, they seem to have left their infantry back here, which is generally not a good idea. Infantry advancing along an open field is basically a recipe for disaster. And here you can see why. As we have massive mortar fire coming in, along with the enemy's counter battery fire immediately. As these Marines rush across this field supported by this, I believe it's an M11 Abrams P, as well as we have an autocannon, looks like an autocannon vehicle. We've got, see, we have these automatic grenade launchers going off here, killing infantry. But the problem is that the Russians have the high ground here on top of this hill. So this is basically like a shooting gallery for them. They can just fire at their leisure as these troops advance along this road. And you can see here firing right into the side armor of these vehicles. And if they turn to face them, they expose their side armor to the forces that are down this road. So basically, it's just like a massacre. I'm not sure what happened to all the infantry. I think somebody dropped a bomb on them while I was watching that. But yeah, never underestimate the power of having the high ground. As these tanks just blast anything that comes over there. Here we have a Pact BMPT. We tried to advance into this town, but got a bloody nose from all the infantry there. But fortunately revealed it, and gave some intelligence, so we were able to call in more accurate fire support on the town. You see here what the Pact secured this hill, so we were able to call in reinforcements. Not sure how the helicopter got through there, but through this tunnel. But just as they come down the road, we have a push. We have a push from the middle of the map here through this forest around this ridge. Fortunately, we have a Skresnet here. We have an advanced T-55, and we have some VDV. For the Russian, I more prefer more upgraded. See here, enemy AA firing at them. I prefer more upgraded older tanks than the more top-of-the-line tanks because I think they tend to be more cost-effective. And then over here we have more tanks. That was a T-55 AMV with reactive armor. You can see the little reactive armor bricks on it, as well as anti-tank missiles. And as rockets stream in on these enemy troops that are advancing, again, infantry in the open are just like free points. So these burnt out hulks here. As we drop bombs on this convoy. We have this tank, which is a T-64, an advanced T-64. Again, I like the older tanks. But yeah, these guys are basically flanks from every angle again. Getting shot at from the high ground, advancing along the low ground. Now, one thing about Russian tank numbers, a lot of people get confused. I think I've maybe talked about this before, but Russia basically had kind of two lines of tanks, of main battle tanks. They had what's kind of their more common export line, and they had their more advanced internal line. Because the Warsaw Pact was not entirely voluntary, if you were a member of the Warsaw Pact, unlike, say, NATO, you couldn't just decide to leave. Russia didn't always want to give its best, most advanced equipment to the other countries in the Warsaw Pact, because it might, and it actually had to a couple times, use military force to sort of get them to toe the line. And if they have the same tanks that Russia had, that'd be hard. So the T-55 and the T-72 are Russia's more like mass-produced, cheap, but effective Pact tanks that they gave the plans to all the other countries. They mass-produce a lot. That's why like every country under the sun now has T-72s. But the T-64 is the more advanced tank, and that was kept within Russia itself almost entirely. Because it was more expensive, and also they didn't want to give away state secrets. You see here, the enemy tried to cruise across this bridge here. I don't know why it bugs out if you get too close to the bridge. Not sure why. But there's all sorts of troops in this town. We have helicopters, so an unsupported dash of a bunch of vehicles is not going to do much. Over here we have our tanks driving through the burnt out remains of this enemy attack convoy. An enemy plane tries to do a strafing run, but we actually have a lot of AA. Another attack here, but I think this guy might actually get away. Let's see here. Let's see if this brave NATO pilot will escape. Nope. Over here, looks like we still have some, this is an IHawk. I'm not sure why I was unsupported here. Looks like the enemy's massing for another attack here. We have some Bradleys, we have some transports. As these tanks just get hit by artillery barrages. But again, as long as the Russians have this high ground, you can see all these tanks they have up here. Or at least they have one tank. They're not really going to be able to do that much, because as soon as they come down this road, it's just like a killing zone. Over here, things are relatively quiet since we pushed back that attack. Right here we can see actually, I think this is it. Is that it? I might have to cheat a second, and the enemy's advancing here, but cheat a little bit. Well, I'll cheat a little bit in a second. We have here just stock Abrams, but surprise, surprise, in this forest are like super pro Pact tanks, as well as ATGMs. So these unsupported Abrams are just going to get murdered. They can't even see what's shooting at them. But yeah, over here in the forest, one of the things that was shooting here, I think, I guess it wasn't shooting, is a T-80U, which is the most advanced Russian battle tank. Only Russia can get it. It's a Russian prototype. You have to use a Russian-only deck. The only problem is it's really expensive, but it'll tear through basically any other NATO battle tank like it's not even funny. Here we have my BMPT. king of close quarters fighting. 3 different kinds of guns. I'm driving down this road to try and gain a foothold in this town. Unfortunately, you can't really see what it's shooting at, but, oh yeah, you can. Let's see here. Shooting at these Marines from earlier. Fighting that. And while that's happening, we have some vehicles moving over to help secure that bridgehead. Over here, looks like this attack was not entirely unsuccessful. We do have an M11P Abrams here, which is the up-armored version of the normal Abrams. We did have a chaparral here, as you saw, but they are not known for their armor, so it got taken out by a heavy mortar barrage. And this last Abrams is advancing unsupported, which is making it easy prey for enemy ATGMs. Over here, my Skresnets dropped off some troops. You see they're firing their autocannons at an enemy at an enemy plane. Not probably gonna do my... Oh, they shot it down, so that's good. Over our territory. And as you can see, bombs were dropped on this forest to ensure that there's no other pesky infantry hiding inside. Here we have what looks like the enemy's latest attack. These are M11A3 APCs, which I think these are Dragon missiles, which are horrible ATGMs. They're just basically garbage and worthless. But yeah. Here we have a Su-24 in the PIVADS role, in the SEAD role, shooting at some PIVADs, which are radar-guided AA. Radar-guided cannon AA is probably the easiest thing in the world for SEAD planes to shoot at because it doesn't have a very long range. So if you shoot at missile AA with SEAD planes, there's a pretty good chance that when you fire the missile, your plane's going to keep traveling forward, and the enemy's going to fire a missile back at you. And there's a chance that they'll blow your plane up. But if the enemy only has radar-guided cannon AA, that's never going to happen because the SEAD missiles have like twice the range of the enemy gun. So it's just like free points. See here these I think these are T-72s driving in reverse in response to an enemy stuff, but you see here a pretty heavy artillery barrage, which should slow the enemy down. It's fine here. Oh, here we have jeeps with tow missiles. Yeah, I don't really like these units, but if they work for you, I just think they're way too fragile. America actually has armored ATGM carriers that won't die to a stiff breeze, so I prefer to use those. More heavy mortars coming in. Managed to actually hit this Cobra. It looks like the enemy tried an advance over here, but they got blasted by everybody over there. And we have all the burnt out wrecks that try to advance. Here, the enemy tried to call in reinforcements through this tunnel. But now there's troops over here. We have my ever favorite vehicle, the BMPT, as well as some infantry. Looks like we have some tanks here. That can cover this road. So we have large amounts of enemy firepower coming at these, I think they're Swedish tanks in the middle of this road. Is what I believe is a T-80U. Leads the charge. Now it might look like a lot of the older tanks with the reactive armor that looks a lot more sort of menacing because they have these little bricks all over them. But tanks like these actually have the most advanced reactive armor because it was built into the tank. The design was designed around it, so it's a lot more streamlined instead of like a T-55 or a T-64 that they just had to put all these little reactive bricks on it instead. You have these poor Russian infantry whose transport has been blown up. I'm not actually sure what these helicopters are doing. Oh, they're unloading infantry. But here's again my SEAD plane. I think it's my SEAD plane. Because like I said, I've kind of determined that they don't have, the enemy doesn't have anything that's, there's my SEAD plane from somewhere. If all the enemy has is radar guided ground AA, it's like free. It's like free money basically. So here's the second one going up in flames. But because I saw my SEAD planes fire missiles in there, we started calling airstrikes and just bombed the whole forest. And so much stuff died in that forest. I'm still not sure what all was in there. So much stuff died in that forest that it ended up winning us the game. So you can see here, I was on the left on that road over the bridge in the river, and my two allies were in the center and on the right. And as normally, if you've watched a couple of my games, I'm pretty low in the kills, but I'm also pretty low in the losses, so I'm okay with that. I tend to be a very conservative player, so it's pretty rare that I'll have top kills. And also, I'm not very good at this game, so that's the other reason. But the two people who joined my game apparently were. So I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit of a view from the Russian side, the Pact side. So thank you for watching, and have a nice day.